Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Chem Insider. In the previous video of class 12, we discussed about the chemical properties of aldehydes and ketones, in which we discussed the nucleophilic substitution reactions involved in the aldehydes and ketones. Usually that is clearly an addition type of a process. So where we used to observe the nucleophile being attacked on the electrophilic center of the carbonyl groups, that is a carbon atom, and the OH group, hydrogen will be attacked by the O- formed by the bond cleavage resulting in the carbon and oxygen. So later we discussed about certain reactions which involve the nucleophilic substitution, and then we finally discussed about the addition of ammonia and its derivatives of the carbonyl groups. Now for the examples of this particular reaction, where we had learnt about that when carbonyl is treated with ammonia and its derivatives, we are formed to obtain a compound such as this intermediate, and which on later breaks down the molecule of water molecule to form the respective carbon and nitrogen imine derivatives. Now in this particular reaction we said that this Z is clearly the derivatives of ammonia molecule. It might be H for the ammonia molecule, it might be different for different derivatives of ammonia. So these are the certain examples where Z can be varied from H, R, OH, NH2 and certain examples. So the reaction process is always the same. Just what we have to do is you need to just replace the Z with respective compound or the respective substituent in order to convert the particular reaction. If they ask you to convert aldehydes, if they ask to explain the reaction of nucleophilic addition to aldehydes or ketones when they are treated with hydrazine, then what you have to write is H2NN, H2N with NH2. Instead of Z, you have to be writing NH2. So this compound will be NH2, NH2, that is hydrazine group, which reacts with the carbonyl carbon and later forms C double bond N NH2, that is respectively called the hydrazone. The compound formed will be such as like this. So the examples are, if Z is hydrogen, this compound will be H2NH, that is nothing but the ammonia, which gives us imine group. Okay, carbon with a double bond NH is called the imine group. Now in the second case, we are considering Z as the alkyl group, which is called an amine. It forms as substituted imine. This R group is considered as the substitution. So this is the substituted imine group. Next, if Z is OH, the particular H2NOH is called the hydroxylamine. The compound formed will be called the oxime. Next, if Z is NH2, that will be hydrazine in the name of the compound. The product will be respective hydrazone. Okay. Next, for NHC6H5, phenyl hydrazine, suffix of this particular compound will be phenyl hydrazone. Like for example, let us say we are treating this carbonyl carbon with an example of CH3. So this is acetone or propanone. You can say it as a propanone itself. So when you treat propanone with phenyl hydrazine, that is NH2NHC6H5, the compound formed will be NHC6H5, which later forms NHC6H5, CH3 and CH3 over here. This particular product will be called as isopropyl phenyl hydrazone. Okay, that will be isopropyl phenyl hydrazone. That compound will be called as isopropyl phenyl hydrazone. So that is the reaction. If you use urea for this particular Z compound, if this Z is replaced by NHCONH2, this particular compound will be called as semicarbazide. The resulting product will be semicarbazone. Okay, so these are the certain examples for nucleophilic addition of ammonia and ammonia derivatives on aldehydes and ketones. Next, we will be discussing about the reduction of aldehydes and ketones. Next is the second set of reaction that is reduction of aldehydes and ketones. So in the chapter of alcohols and phenols, we had learned that when aldehydes and ketones are reduced with suitable reducing agents, they form respective primary and secondary alcohol. If aldehydes are reduced with lithium aluminum hydride or sodium borohydride, they used to give us primary alcohol, and ketones on reduction gives us secondary alcohol. We can completely cover those reactions from the alcohols chapter itself. Next is the reduction of alcohol keto group to alkane. That is the second, in case of the reduction, we have the first type of reduction where we reduce aldehyde and ketone to respective alcohols, primary or secondary alcohol. And in the second type of reaction, what we do is we reduce aldehydes and ketones to alkanes. So reduction of aldehydes and ketones to alkanes. So there are two types of process for this particular reduction. One is Wolff-Kishner reaction, the other one is Clemmensen reduction. So now we will discuss about the first one, that is Clemmensen reduction. So in Clemmensen reduction, what we observe is when you treat a carbonyl group, such as like this, with zinc amalgam in the presence of concentrated HCl. When you treat carbonyl group with zinc amalgam in presence of concentrated HCl, the oxygen groups present in this particular keto group will be reduced to CH2. So the compound formed will be like this with the removal of water molecule. So this is the reduction of Clemmensen. That is, whenever a carbonyl group such as aldehydes or ketones are treated with zinc amalgam in the presence of concentrated HCl, the keto group, that the carbonyl group, will be reduced to an alkane form. Like for example, let us say CH3 C double bond O H with zinc amalgam Zn Hg concentrated HCl, they give us CH3 CH2 H. This will be a alkane. This is ethanol. This compound is ethanol, which is being reduced to ethane. Similarly, ketones will also be reduced to respective alkane groups. So this particular reduction is called the Clemmensen reduction. Now for the next one is Wolff-Kishner reduction. The second type of reduction is Wolff-Kishner reduction. So in case of Wolff-Kishner reduction, what we do is, first we carry out a nucleophilic addition on the carbonyl group using hydrazine. When you treat the carbonyl groups with hydrazine H2N NH2, when you treat carbonyl group with hydrazine, they respectively form their hydrazone compound CHNNH2. So they will be forming respective hydrazone group. This hydrazone group, when heated with ethylene glycol, and alkali such as sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, and heated to a certain temperature, what happens is the carbon and nitrogen bond breaks down to form respective alkane with the liberation of nitrogen group. Okay, so the reaction is, when hydrazine is treated with carbonyl group, they undergo nucleophilic addition to form respective hydrazone. This hydrazone, when treated with sodium hydroxide in presence of ethylene glycol on heating, it leaves us a alkane group. So this is about the Wolff Wolff-Kishner reduction. This is Wolff-Kishner reduction. So these are the two processes of reduction of aldehydes and ketones. So these two are the reduction process of aldehydes and ketones. In the first type of reduction, what we do is we reduce our respective aldehyde and ketone to respective alcohol. In case of the other reduction, we reduce the aldehyde and ketone to respective alkane. That is, this particular process has two methods. One is a Clemmensen reduction, where we treat the given carbonyl group with zinc amalgam and constant HCl. In case of Wolff-Kishner reduction, we treat them with hydrazine for the nucleophilic addition. Then later we heat them with sodium hydroxide in presence of ethylene glycol to form respective alkane group. Okay, so this is about the reduction of aldehydes and ketones. Up to now we have discussed about the two reactions. One is a reduction reaction, the other one is nucleophilic reaction. Now the third one, oxidation reactions of aldehydes and ketones. Oxidation of aldehydes and ketones. So aldehydes and ketones, we have observed that they have almost similar reactions in all the particular process, right? For about the chemical properties which I have discussed up till now, aldehydes and ketones undergo same kind of method. The only difference where aldehydes and ketones undergo in a different chemical property is in their oxidation. That is because the carbonyl group in case of aldehydes is less sterically hindered, whereas in case of ketones it is highly hindered. Therefore, when we react aldehydes or ketones for oxidation process, they require different conditions to undergo oxidation. That is, for aldehydes, very mild oxidizing agents are successful for oxidizing the particular aldehyde. That is, aldehyde can easily undergo oxidation under mild conditions. But in case of ketones, in order them to undergo oxidation, they have to react at a vigorous conditions, which involves the carbon-carbon bond breaking, leading to the formation of mixture of carboxylic acids. Therefore, aldehydes and ketones are completely different in case of their oxidation process. So, if you consider for a simple aldehyde, they undergo oxidation to form respective carboxylic acids. Aldehydes, on oxidation, they form respective carboxylic acids, but ketone does not undergo normal oxidation to form carboxylic acid. But what they do is, ketones are to be treated with strong oxidizing agents. Then they form carbon-carbon bond breaking, resulting in, so what happens is either one of the carbon atom and the carbonyl carbon break their bond to form mixture of carboxylic acid. Such as like this. Okay, so this leads to the conclusion that aldehydes and ketones can be classified or separated using their respective particular oxidation process. Okay, so therefore in organic chemistry what we do is we use the process of oxidation to determine whether the given compound is aldehyde or a ketone. Since aldehydes and ketones are always have the same solubility, same almost similar boiling point and same flavor and odor, what we observe is this oxidation process is quite clear reaction to differentiate between an aldehyde and a ketone. So therefore what we do is we can separate aldehyde and ketone with respect to them one another by using two mild oxidizing agents. Those are Tollens reagent, or you can use Fehling solution. That is, when you have a given mixture of aldehydes and ketones in a given compound, so they might have given you an aldehyde or they might have even given you a ketone. In order to differentiate those two, what we can simply do is we treat them with Tollens reagent and Fehling solution in order to differentiate the aldehyde and ketones. If the given compound undergoes oxidation to show a given particular condition of the product, then the given compound will be aldehyde. If there is no reaction involved, then the given compound will be ketone. So now oxidation of aldehydes, for that let us discuss about the oxidation of aldehydes with Tollens reagent and Fehling's solution. First one, oxidation with Tollens reagent. Oxidation with Tollens reagent. So Tollens reagent is the freshly prepared ammonical silver nitrate solution. Tollens reagent is when you treat silver nitrate with ammonium hydroxide. When you treat silver nitrate with alcoholic ammonium hydroxide, they form ammonical silver nitrate solution of the form AgNH3 twice plus. So when you treat this ammonical silver under the warm conditions with aldehydes, when you treat RCHO with ammonical silver under warm conditions, NH3 twice plus under warm condition in the presence of OH minus, what happens is the aldehyde group gets oxidized to form carboxylate ion. The aldehyde group gets oxidized to form carboxylate anion, which can be determined, which can be clarified or confirmed by the formation of a silver mirror on the surface of the solution. That is because when you treat aldehyde with silver nitrate solution, ammonical silver nitrate solution, what we observe is silver gets liberated to form Ag. Silver get liberated to form Ag, and they form a surface of this particular solution in a silver type, mirror type. Silver gets liberated. So in this reaction, what happens is when the reaction is taking place, clearly if aldehydes are present there, what happens is the formation of carboxylate ion leads to the liberation of silver, which takes place, which happens to be formed at the surface of the solution, leading to a type of silver mirror. So if there is silver mirror formed in the given solution, that means Ag has been liberated from the carboxylic acid groups. Okay, CHO is converted to carboxylate ion, which liberates the silver. Therefore, it forms a respective Ag in the given solution. So the formation of Ag, that is which can be observed by formation of silver layer on top of the solution, clearly indicates that the given compound is being oxidized. If we had used ketone, that would not get oxidized, therefore the Ag will not be forming on the surface of the solution. So clearly in the Tollens reagent, what we do is when you treat aldehyde with ammonical silver nitrate ion, it undergoes oxidation to form carboxylate anion, resulting in the liberation of silver, which forms a mirror glaze on the top of the solution. So that mirror glaze formed on the top of the solution is clearly the indication to result that this particular reaction is undergoing oxidation. So if the reaction is getting oxidized, that means the reaction contains an aldehyde. Okay, so this is about the oxidation of aldehydes with Tollens reagent. So Tollens reagent is nothing but the silver nitrate mixed with ammonium hydroxide solution to form ammonical silver nitrate. Okay, next is oxidation of aldehydes with Fehling's solution. Oxidation of aldehyde with Fehling's solution. Oxidation of aldehyde with Fehling's solution. So Fehling's solution is a mixture of Fehling's solution A and Fehling's solution B. Fehling's solution has two parts, solution A and solution B, where Fehling's solution A is copper sulfate solution in the aqueous condition. Aqueous copper sulfate solution is called the Fehling's solution A, and alkaline potassium tartarate. Alkaline solution of potassium tartarate is the Fehling's solution B. Okay. So Fehling solution is a mixture of two, that is Fehling solution A and Fehling solution B. The Fehling solution A has copper sulfate solution in the aqueous medium, and Fehling solution B has alkaline potassium tartarate. That means it has been dissolved in potassium hydroxide. So when these two solutions, that is Fehling solution A and Fehling solution B, are taken in equal mixtures and mixed with one another, and then it is treated with our desired aldehyde groups, what happens is aldehydes, when treated with Fehling solution, that clearly involves the reaction of cuprate ions, Cu minus, Cu plus, when RCHO is treated with Cu plus in the OH minus, that is the alkaline medium produced by the OH minus, they form carboxylate anion. They form carboxylate anion along with the formation of cuprous oxide. Along with the formation of cuprous oxide, which forms a red-brown precipitate. It forms a reddish-brown precipitate, which indicates the reaction being formed. If the reaction forms a reddish-brown precipitate, that means there is an oxidation process going on, resulting in the aldehydes oxidized to carboxylate anion. If the reaction does not take place, then there will be no reddish-brown precipitate being formed. That means the compound will be a ketone. Okay, so these are the two particular oxidation reactions of aldehydes which can be used to distinguish between aldehydes and ketones. Okay, so these are the two reactions which can be used to distinguish between aldehydes and ketones. Next is an additional reaction of aldehydes and ketones, especially in case of the ketones. If you are supposed to explain the structure of a given ketone molecule, then this particular reaction is very useful. If you have to determine a free methyl group present, that is, if you are determining the structure of a methyl ketone compound, then you can use this reaction for this particular estimation of the methyl ketone present. That is, sodium haloform test. Sodium haloform test. In this particular reaction, we can determine if a given aldehyde or ketone group has a free methyl group present in it. That is, whenever you come across a compound in such a way of this type, where R might be an alkyl group for in case of all ketones, it might be hydrogen in case of aldehydes. So whenever you have to come across this particular type of a structure, we can use this particular test. So in this particular reaction, what happens is, when you treat a compound which has methyl group on one side of the carbonyl group, if an aldehyde or ketone has a methyl group on one side of the carbonyl group, then it is treated with sodium hypohalite, that is NaOX. NaOX is called sodium hypohalite. Sodium hypohalite. This particular compound is called sodium hypohalite. So when you treat a compound which has a methyl ketone or methyl carbonyl group, that is a CH3 group present on one side, at least one methyl group present, when they are treated with sodium hypohalite under warm condition, what they do is, this NaO attacks the carbonyl carbon, because NaO is a nucleophile. This attacks the carbonyl carbon, which results in the breaking of carbon and carbon bond of the methyl group. That result in the formation of RC double bond O, ONA, along with the formation of CH3X. This particular compound is called haloform compound. Haloform compound. So if, for example, if you consider an example of C2H5, C double bond O, CH3, along with sodium hypochlorite, NaOCl, the reactant will be forming as product will be C double bond O, ONA, along with CH3Cl. So this particular reaction is called sodium haloform test, and the product formed over here, CH3Cl, is chloroform, right? CH3Cl is chloroform. Therefore, it is haloform reaction. So this particular reaction is called the haloform reaction. In this particular process, what we observe is fluoroform conditions are very hard to prepare, but the reactivity increases from chlorine to bromine, bromine to iodine. Okay, so the reaction is when you treat a compound of aldehyde or ketone which has an methyl group present attached to the carbonyl carbon. At least one methyl group should be present in order to this reaction to happen. So if a methyl group present in the attached to the carbonyl carbon, when they are treated with sodium hypohalite, they resultively form a haloform compound and sodium salt of carboxylate. Okay, so this is the another type of oxidation process, but which results in the formation of a sodium salt, but not carboxylic acid. It forms a sodium salt of carboxylic acid, but not pure carboxylic acid. Okay, so this is the sodium haloform test. So this is all about for today. In the next class, we will be discussing about the very important set of reactions, that is reactions involving alpha hydrogen in a given carbonyl group. Thank you for watching.